Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balava Giridhari Gopijana Balava Giridhari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Madhava Kunjabihari Upiyanavalava Nivarahari Upiyanavalava Nivarahari Uranandana Parijanayandana Vishoranandana Bhajajanayandana Munakira Varchami Munakira Varchami Sarai Sarai Mahava Yavihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopiyanamalabha Vivarhadi Gopiyanamalabha Vivarhadi Yashodanandana Bhajajanarandana Yashodanandana Bhajajanarandana Amunatira Manachanti Amunatira Manachanti Arai Mahava Yavihari Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivajicaya, Yodhara Srimad, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Antakuti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namah Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sikha Host Krishna Chaitanya, Bhumitan, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Guru Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Samakunda Radha Kundi Yoginam Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Muzik Dham Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Vinay Ki Jai. All glories to the Son of Lord. All glories to the Son of Lord. All glories to the Son of Lord. Rapamanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 9, text 16. Answers by citing the Lord's version. Pratya Sada from the heaven. Vimukam Trik Asvam Pasana Asa Karuna Lochana Ananam Kiritinam Indulinam Tatubhujam Pita Hamshukam Vakshasi Lakshitam Shriya Prasada Bimukam Jagasavam Vasana Saruna Lochananam Kiritinam Kundalinam Chaturbhujam Itam Shukam Bhakshasi Lakshitam Shriya Vidya Prasada Vimukam Jagasanam Vasana Saruna Lochananam Kiritinam Kundalinam Chaturbhujam Itam Shukam Bhakshasi Lakshitam Shriya
Vidya prasada mukang jigasavang prasana hasaruna lochananam kiritinang kundalinang chaturbhujang pitang shukang vakshasi lakshitang shriya.
Bhritya prasada bhimukham drikasavam. Prasad. Iritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam. Kundalinam chaturbhujam. Pitam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya. Vridya prasada nabikum drik asvanam. Rasanaha sarunalochananam. Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam. Pitam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Pritya prasada vimukham drigasavam Lasana hasaruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Pitam sukham bhakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Pritya prasada vimukam drigasavam Prasanaha saruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Pitang shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Pritya prasada bimukam drigasavam Prasannaha saruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Pitam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya. Pritya prasada bimukam durgasavam Rasanaha saruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Pitam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Vritya prasada bhimukam drikasavam Prasana hasaruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Pitam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Ita prasada bimukam durgasavam Rasanaha saruna lochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam Itam shukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya.
Vidya, the servitor. Prasada, affection. Abhimukam, favorably facing. Drik, the very sight. Asavam, and intoxication. Prasanna, very much pleased. Hasa, smile. Aruna, reddish. Lochana, eyes. Anam, face. Kiritinam, with helmet. Kundalinam, with earrings. Satubhujam, with 4 hands. Ita, yellow. Anshukam, dress. Vakshasi, on the chest. Lakshitam, marked. Yeah, with the goddess of fortune. Translation. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. That's called Srivatsa. Mark 3 lines, hairs on the chest. Purport.
In the Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda, there is a full description of the Yoga Pita, or the particular place where the Lord is in audience to his eternal devotees. In that Yoga Pita, the personifications of religion, knowledge, opulence, and renunciation are all seated at the lotus feet of the Lord. The 4 Vedas, namely Rik, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. The 16 energies headed by Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the first 2 doorkeepers. At the middle door are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra. At the last door are Jaya and Vijaya. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, Shankukarna, Sarvanetra, Sumukha, etc. The Lord's palace is well decorated and protected by the above mentioned doorkeepers.
Doorkeepers, because there may be some living entities that want to come in that are not qualified to come into the presence of the Lord. And they might make a disturbance because they have free will, even in the spiritual world. Even in Vaikuntha, everyone has free will. They're allowed to act as they wish. And they may choose to leave. This is a controversial topic. Some say that no possibility of leaving from the spiritual world. Generally, it doesn't happen because Someone who's there is completely satisfied, and he shouldn't have any desire for anything else. This is the material world. But it does happen. Jaya and Vijaya are mentioned here. And in particular, they are the main subjects of that activity happening where you know the story, Jaya and Vijaya were guarding the gate. Seventh gate or something. Different gate. And they had already passed through so many gates. And all those doorkeepers allowed them to go past. Because they knew that these Kumaras, 4 boys, they look like 4 boys. They look like 4 young boys, maybe 5 years old. They were moving with only the atmosphere covering them as dress. And then they came to the 7th gate. So Jaya and Vijaya should have also allowed them to go through. But for some reason, they would not allow them to come through. No, you're not allowed here. You can't come in. Whatever reason, they may have thought somehow or other, they thought they were doing their duty by disallowing these 4 boys. They stopped them. But that was a great offense. Because to stop the devotees of the Lord from doing what they're supposed to be doing is offensive because they're doing what the Lord wants them to do. And now this person is blocking them, not letting him do or let them do what they're supposed to do. So they have to suffer, they have to get some punishment for that. And the punishment, Jaya Vijaya, come to the material world, that's punishment. And live there for some time. Just living in the material world. Because this place, the Kalayam Shashvatam, place of suffering, miseries. Sometimes we forget that and we think that it's a place of pleasure. Yeah. And we try to convince each other that we're having a good time. Having a good time? Yeah, having a great time. How about you? Yeah, having a great time. But they're forgetting birth, death, old age, and disease. If somebody reminds you, hey, good morning, yeah, good morning. Today may be your last. You may get a heart attack today. We don't like that type of remembrance to be reminded. You don't talk about things like that. We don't like to hear about it. We don't like to talk about it. Sweep it under the rug. Sometimes a person may be living in his home, and there's a curtain, Someone says, there's a snake behind the curtain. All right. As long as it's out of sight. So he goes on with his activities, and then when he's not expecting, he may be bitten by the snake. So we can't just forget the snake bite of death and the snake bite of old age, disease. Not to be forgotten. In fact, this is a sign of advancement. If one thinks he can die at any moment, he's a Paramahamsa. And if one thinks, I'll never die, he's a gross materialist. He's an illusion. He's a fool. This is discussed by Prabhupada at initiation of a devotee who was given the Babaji initiation because he was told by doctors that he would die very soon. Even though he was a young man, somehow or other he was some uncurable disease that was supposed to take his life very soon. That's what he had heard and explained it. So Prabhupada said, then you can just go to Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. Because he said this, that if one is thinking that I can die at any moment, then that is the perfectional stage. Actually, the soul doesn't die. That's a fact. So actually, there's no death. But as long as one is in the material realm, has to go through these stages, 6 stages. Born, he grows, stains, reproduce, dwindling, and death, change of body. These changes are going on in the material world. Soul is not going through the changes. It's the body's changing. Soul remains the same. So, does that mean that one should always be thinking about death? He's going to die? No, you should always be thinking about Krishna. But he knows behind the scenes. Deos Pranyatade, Komaram Jovanam Janatade Hantara Prapti, Tiras Tatra Namuyati. Self-realized soul is not bewildered by the change of body. He's not disturbed because he knows he's not going to die. Thinking that one is going to die is an illusion. Because they don't know what life is, don't know what death is, then they're an illusion. How can they make the right decisions what to do? They don't know what they are, who they are, where they're going, where they came from, what's the purpose, and who can give that information? Which department? Is it math department, science department, philosophy department? And so they try to just kind of cover up. Like we have some blemish, maybe we try to cover it. We don't want it to be seen. Well, there's a blemish. We don't want to think about death. And we can act like it's not going to happen. Pretending. But that is not intelligent. Intelligent person deals with the real problems. Wants to know what is the real difficulty, the real situation. We think that we should withhold this type of discussion from children. But actually, it's our duty to tell them. It's the guru, his duty is to teach his students. But not only the guru, and also the mother, the father, God, and the king is supposed to teach this. The demigods, if you're a demigod, you're supposed to teach. Any position of leadership makes you responsible, or makes me responsible, for giving those who are dependent upon us, those who we're looking after, by trying to make sure that they're not subjected to another life of death and birthing. In other words, this should be their last lifetime. If they're properly instructed, then they won't waste their time frivolously engage in silly activities, time-wasting activities. Well, what's time-wasting activities? Yeah. Anything that's not in connection with Krishna. Something where Krishna is forgotten. That's time wasted. The sun rises and sets. And with every rising and setting of the sun, one's lifetime is reduced, getting shorter. But if one uses his time for glorifying Krishna, then he's on the eternal platform. There's no effect of time. Time can only affect things that are under its control. Those material things. Material things have a beginning and an end. Like planets, universes. They talk about when the universe began. That means it has a beginning and an end. The body has a beginning and an end. The universal body has a beginning and an end. But the soul has no beginning and no end. Ajonicha Shashvatam Manam has no beginning, no end. He doesn't die when the body is slain. He's not slain when the body is slain. This is a very important topic to teach the children so they know. And they won't, then if they're use their intelligence wisely, like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was a child, he didn't play like the other children play. They go out for play, recess time, school, jumping, running, having a good time, playing. And children generally, they forget. They don't think that there's anything more important to do. That's the fault of their superiors who didn't teach them. That's why Srila Prabhupada wanted so much to establish the Gurukula. Teaching at the Guru's place, this transcendental knowledge, that's a different thing that'll be taught. Prahlad Maharaj taught this to his schoolmates. And the teachers were very, very upset when they found out that he was doing this. Where did you learn this? Father was upset. Father thought the teachers were betraying him, teaching his son these ridiculous things like about God and getting free from the material world. He was upset. But Prahlad learned from Narad Muni. Narad Muni instructed. Even in the womb, one can receive this knowledge. He can become self-realized by hearing from the pure devotee in the womb. This may be a surprise because mostly we think, how can someone in the womb hear and recognize, understand English or Sanskrit or whatever language you want? How can they understand the language? But the soul inside the body of that embryo, that child, he's not restricted. He's an eternal being. And he's Daisrup Krishnadas. He's a servant of Krishna. Originally, he may have forgotten. That's why he's come to the material world, having forgotten. But it's not his nature to forget. And if he hears again, he's liable to again wake up, to realize his true position. Just by hearing. Hearing is very important. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu Parasevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vedam. 9 processes of those. Hearing is foremost, because by hearing one can easily come to the proper understanding of what's happening. By hearing. So he heard in the womb. Not all children, but generally the process is that for the first 7 months, when they're in the womb of their mother, they're unconscious. They're living. Of course they're living, otherwise how's the body growing? If something's growing, it means it's alive. That's a silly thing to have to say that, but now they're not sure whether living things are alive or not. They pass laws. They say it's okay to mutilate the embryo, even though they all know it's growing. How's it have a heartbeat? How does it have different types of the body? The eyes are developed. How are these things developing? Unless there's a living person there. What is it? So these things, they have tried to cover this up and say it's tissue or something. But they don't know for sure when. So many condemnable things are happening because of ignorance. They don't realize how much difficulty they're making for themselves by not having this knowledge. How important is this knowledge that saves society or the individuals having to suffer for committing such offensive behavior? To see, for Kumaras, because they were impeded, their movements were impeded, Jaya Vijaya had to fall down to the material world. So what to speak of those who are impeding the soul. The soul has taken shelter of a particular body because he has a mission. And the mission is Atato Brahma Jigasa. Now you have the human form of life. Your business is to understand Brahma Jigasa, to inquire about spirit. Learn about the spirit. But if that's not allowed, if one impedes that by harming that person or not letting them continue, that's real violence. Real violence means not to let one advance, stopping them from their advancement. That's real. Someone may say, well, if they're eternal, then they won't die. They'll live again, they'll get another. No, but the reason that's offensive is because it's against the law. It's like if someone's living in a house and you go there and forcibly take them and throw them out of the house and you occupy the house. Then when the police come and say, well, why did you do that? You'll find somewhere else to live. Yeah, you'll find somewhere else to live. But if you do that, you're guilty of breaking the law. It's his designated place. He has a mission to get out of the material consciousness and get back to the spiritual world where his real home is, his real service is. And by taking away his opportunity to do that, forcing him out of his home, he can't do that, or out of his body. These are subtle things, but it's all there in the Vedic knowledge. And we're so fortunate to have it. You might say, no, we don't like to hear about those things. We don't like to learn about it. We like to just have a good time. Eat, drink, and be merry. That's our keynote. That's our theme of life. Let's just enjoy as much as possible. Don't worry about the future. But that's foolishness. And a real friend is one who tells you. A real friend is one who tells you if you're going on some road and the road goes off a cliff and they warn you. You may say, you're trying to spoil my day. I'm trying to go here from such a long time. If we go that way, it was going to be a very scenic trip. Now he's trying to make my day unpleasant. No, he's your friend. He's telling you the truth. So the real friend is the sadhu. Sadhu cuts out the incorrect things, cuts out the falsity, gives you truth, reality. Therefore, when we meet a sadhu, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. One moment with a sadhu can bring one perfection because he'll tell you in that 1 minute. Sometimes they ask Prabhupada to speak on television show or radio show. Just short. It's just use a minute. I was okay, a minute's long enough. And he would explain that the soul is eternal and the body is temporary, and our business is to get out of this material world. We're the spiritual being, and therefore we should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's 1 minute capsule. give them a quick. Therefore, association with the devotee is so important. Because everything he's doing, he's giving out the same transcendental knowledge, whether it's speaking, whether he's speaking or whether he's chanting, or whatever he's doing, he's engaged in that activity. And those who come in contact with him, they become influenced. Just like the contamination of a diseased person. There was that story that Prabhupada tells a story about. What's her name? Mary? Typhoid Mary. She had disease, typhoid, very communicable disease. She worked in a restaurant. And everyone who went in the restaurant was getting typhoid, and they couldn't figure out. So they finally traced it out that anyone who was served by Typhoid Mary, she was given that name. It wasn't her given name. But they got typhoid because they got it from her. She had it, but it didn't seem to bother her. But anyone who else got typhoid, and they bothered them. So just go close to her. She's serving you your meal. You'll get typhoid. In the same way, those who come in contact with devotees, they get, but in a good sense, not in a disease way, but they get free from the disease. They're free from the illusions, all the sufferings, free from death, free from rebirth. That's real freedom. They're talking about liberation. Everyone should get liberated. Everyone should be independent. That's real liberation, real independence, is to be in Krishna consciousness. That's our natural position, our proper position. So we also, although we may not be so advanced, but at least whatever we can try our best to teach what we know, what we've heard from the Vedic authorities, from the Parampara, from the Guru, from the Shastras. We try to teach that, try to present it as we've heard it, without changing it, and accepting it. This is real knowledge, because we see all around us. Everyone's going through this, the suffering. Everyone's life. It's really not possible to defeat the words of the sadhus, the Vaishnavas, because they're presenting the words coming from Krishna, Supreme, the original Guru, Supreme Guru. He's teaching this. So therefore they have confidence. And they know it's true. They see. Who's not dying? Who's all these things. So it's waking up. Udishtata Jagrita Prapya Varun, the Bodhata. That's what the Vedas are meant for waking us up and wake up to our real position of transcendental bliss and knowledge. That's our real constitutional position in the spiritual world. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Shiva. Krishna Prasad. Srimad Bhagavatam.